Hello friends, welcome to another video that I'm shooting back to back. So the first part was from last week. Make sure you watch that one first. Last week was about how much theory it could be potentially good to know in order to make sense of the music that we're listening to. So to sum things up, we talked about basic arpeggios, basic knowledge of keys, like major keys. Like in the key of C, first chord is C, the fourth chord is F, major 7, the sixth chord is A minor, the seventh chord, the fifth chord is G7. So it could be good to know that kind of stuff. So what I'm gonna do now is I picked a Louis Armstrong recording that I'm gonna listen to and I'm gonna study. Now for copyright reasons, I might have to mute the music from Louis Armstrong. There's this record label from Brazil. They have this algorithm thing where they claim the copyright to so many public domain songs as when there's something where it detects that it's making money and then they claim copyright on it. So they've claimed copyright on Pachelbel's canon, on Mozart, on a lot of classical pieces. I've seen classical musicians complain about this. It's this algorithm thing, so it really sucks. But anyway, so Stardust, Louis Armstrong. This is such an important part of any jazz musicians or improvising musicians practice routine, listening to the music and figuring out what's going on. You might have heard of players who say that they've never transcribed, yet when you hear they're playing familiar content. So I think it's a question of semantics. When you say transcribe, it has this feeling that you're sitting down with your instrument, maybe you're even writing down the notes, but the act of transcribing itself is not what's going to help you, because there's lots of I've made videos about this. There are lots of people who transcribe a lot yet don't sound like anything close to what they transcribe, because it's like I said last week, it's as if you studied the Korean alphabet and maybe you get the pronunciation really well. Then you hear someone speak Korean. Oh, I know how to write down what they said, but I don't understand what they said. That's the key difference. And so in order to make sense of what is going on, you have to activate a different part of your brain. And I kind of talk about this in my book on Amazon that you can get. I think it's called Fretboard Visualization for the Improvising Musician. You'll find the link in the description area of my video. It's a very good book, very good. So transcribing in itself means nothing. You have to activate that part of your brain that tries to seek to understand what is going on. That usually means being able to associate the notes to relate the notes to the harmony and vice versa, hearing the bass lines, hearing the chords, etc. But yeah, there are people who never transcribe, but they listen to so much music and they know how to absorb the music that they know how to use it right away in the appropriate context. So for example, I've never learned this melody before. That's what I mean. Just feeling the music that way. Okay, so here, let's check out this Louis Armstrong recording, 1931 Stardust. Okay, it starts on the 4 minor chord, it's in the key of D flat. It starts on the 4 minor, and he's playing just on arpeggio. Then it goes to the 1 chord, that's the intro. And he's just doing an arpeggio. 4 minor. Now, these 3 notes, very interesting, over a G flat minor chord. So now you know that when you're in the key of D flat and you have when you're in a major key and you have the 4 minor chord, these notes are very beautiful. So which other songs have 4 minor? Tons of them. All of me in the key of C. At the end you have a 4 minor. So that's how you're absorbing the language. And then the melody starts. So basically he's playing the melody. It's not an improvisation, but still, you know that the melody starts on the 4 chord. And before, what I've done is I've also checked out which chords are being played, because I remember going to jam sessions where a singer would call the song and the musician would just pull out their iReal Pro and play these chords. They have no idea what they're doing, because often these chords are full of embellishments that could be good when the melody is being played to really highlight the complexity of the melody. But when it comes to soloing, it's very annoying to play over these extra decorative chords. And it's just very frustrating songs. There are a lot of songs that are very frustrating to play. Another one is Cheek to Cheek, that has all these, so it goes, heaven, I'm in heaven, here, da, 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 all that. All these extra chords that are written on the chart, these extra chords, these passing chords, are to help highlight the complexity of the melody. But a really good jazz musician, what they would do is that they would use those chords for the melody, but then for the soloing, potentially ignore those extra chords. So over a 4 chord, it's cool to play. It's a major arpeggio with a 6. So speaking of harmony, there are many ways to play the song in terms of harmony. Some people do 2 bars of major, 4 major, then 2 bars of 4 minor. What Louis Armstrong is doing is 3 bars of major, 1 bar of minor. So that's very important to do. If you really want to study things historically, you have to pay attention to everything, not just the appearance, not just the surface thing. Listen to the background. Because if you did that, if I were just to assume that Louis Armstrong were playing over the changes as it was written in some real book, then Louis Armstrong would be quote-unquote playing incorrectly. He would be playing major over minor, because he's singing 3 bars of major as opposed to 2 bars major, 2 bars minor. Okay, let's move on. Okay, he's playing the melody, but he's changing the notes a little bit. So at this point, so it goes to D flat major. You have this B flat 7, and so the melody is a B flat 7 with this natural 9th. We talked about that in last week's video, I believe. Remember, we're talking about All of Me. You can have this. The composer Hoagy Carmichael thinks this. So basically, it's an F minor triad, but played over B flat 7, and we're in the key of D flat. So this is the 6th dominant. So when you're playing All of Me, you play your solo. You can apply it directly like that. In most charts nowadays, they would say D flat major to F minor to B flat 7. But in this recording, it goes directly from D flat major to B flat 7. So it's very important to note. And then over this E flat minor chord, he's doing this. Very beautiful. Over E flat minor. The original melody is that's the original melody, I think. I believe. But Louis Armstrong is doing nice little melodic variation. Very interesting. Okay, so over the A flat 7 chord, Louis is thinking this chord. He's just riffing around. So this. So over when you're in the key of in a major key and you have the dominant chord, this, the 13. Where do you hear this? You hear this in a song called Coquette. To A7. So it happens in that melody. So Louis Armstrong is taking that same idea. But it's very interesting. You have this little discrepancy in the rhythm section. So he's improvising over the melody, but the rhythm section does A flat 7. Then for just a brief moment plays A flat augmented, which is a typical thing of the 30s. But he's playing this now, so it's kind of a very light clash, a small clash. Check it out, check it out. Okay, then over the D flat chord, same thing. But then, this enclosure. I talked about this in last week's video. My predictions are coming true. Where where I said that it's in the old style, it's typical on the one chord to go up with major 7. That's not what he's doing here, but he's doing this with enclosure, going to the 7th, but going down with this. My predictions come true. That's why you gotta trust me. Buy my book. And again, I'm sorry that I have to censor the music here. I don't want to get these copyright strikes. Then you have this E flat dominant chord. So it's the 2 dominant. This happens in songs like Take the A Train, Exactly Like You, Girl from Ipanema. What does he do? Well, it's actually the melody. So he's riffing around the melody. This is not Louis Armstrong's original content, but it's basically B flat minor, which is the 2 dominant. So as early as the 1930s, even though the rhythm section is playing dominant, the soloists were thinking 2 minor. This is very typical of the 30s. And then you have the A flat 7. Just a nice melodic cell over A flat. So the melody, second half, same melody. And then the minor chord. So this is pretty cool chromatic connection. So it's in a G flat minor arpeggio, but from the 5th to the 3rd chromatically. Typical of Chopin. There's this thing in classical music, I forgot the name for it, but they say that when you have this descending chromaticness, it kind of evokes like sadness. So cool idea. So then go to the D flat chord. He plays a variation. He doesn't play the melody as is. Does a little improvisation. But the same thing. So that previous phrase where the melody is supposed to go, I believe that's how it's supposed to go. I could be wrong, but he does the same thing. He likes that. So then it goes to the 4 minor. So this is very nice, from 4 minor to the major. So 4 minor to 1 to the 6 dominant. So you can try this over All of Me, I Can't Get Anything But, lots of songs that have this chord progression. And then it's the melody, it's just the ending phrase. So that's the melody. Then he does another solo, let's check out at the end. So he's inspired by in his actual solo, he's inspired by the melody. So let's say you're playing a song like I'll See You in My Dreams, which is in the key of F by Gypsy jazz players anyway. Just that. He's playing around with these ideas. So you can practice this arpeggio, Joe. I can't believe that you're in love with me. So you can use these ideas. 4 minor, same thing. He completely avoids this note, the minor third, just focusing on these 3 notes, the 5th, the 6th, and the major 7. Da 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 dee da 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 dee. And then over the major to the dominant, using similar based on the melody. So over a B flat 7 in the key of D flat, so the 6 dominant, try this arpeggio, F minor triad. Very cool. Over the E flat minor, the 2 chord, he is thinking, it's based on the melody again. So it's a solo heavily influenced by the melody, which is good. And then over the dominant chord, it's the same, like this 13th sound. And then dominant to the 6th. So if you're playing a song like, I don't know, Coquette, you can apply it directly. Find common situations where you can use the same idea and just drill it. So it goes to this note, then it goes down over D flat, the 1 chord, the 6th, down to the 3rd, down to the 7th, to the 6th. Very typical 30s vocabulary. Then over the 2 dominant, very typical. Going down to this note, which is the 9th. Then the dominant chord. These 3 notes are very beautiful. So you're playing over Coquette on A7. Playing with those 3 same notes again, but variations. Then the dominant, the 4 minor. The Tchaikovsky symphony motif. Not symphony, concerto, I think. Piano concerto, I think. Tchaikovsky, I believe. And then over the D flat, include. Very typical. So with all this information that you've acquired over the 1 chord, you can do a lot of things. See? Using only the information that we studied from Louis Armstrong and with my knowledge of scales and arpeggios and key stuff, I made a new phrase. Amazing. So then B flat 7, same arpeggio. Over the E flat minor, same idea that he used. Looks like a G flat major idea, but it's actually E flat minor 7. Then the 4 minor chord, very interesting. Thinking this G flat minor with a 9, with a major 7. Here's a new shape for you to practice. Over 4 minor. Very cool. Then D flat to B flat, he has this idea. So just a arpeggio starting on the 3rd, but then going down to the 9th of B flat 7. If I do it up an octave, just like the melody. And then finally the 2-5-1. This is very nice arpeggio. Nice. So it goes. So. That's the whole solo. Lots of beautiful vocabulary that you can take from this. So when you have a 2-5-1, try to practice this arpeggio, which looks like a G flat major 6 arpeggio. Then resolve to the dominant. Augmented to the 3rd of D flat. There, that's what you can learn from Louis Armstrong in 1 solo. Lots of useful material there. See, If you can do this every day for the rest of your life, or every time you practice seriously, you can be just doing something like this. Take an artist that you like and see what they're doing. Now, I already know Stardust pretty well, the chord progression, so it was easy for me to then listen to the chord progression. And 1930s style playing is usually simpler, so it's easier to hear the harmonies as opposed to like more contemporary jazz where they're playing extra chords or extra notes in the voicings. But I've been doing this for so long that when I hear, I can copy immediately. In fact, I didn't even need the guitar to be figuring out what's going on. I could hear it myself because I've done it enough that it's just part of me. Oh, it's part of me. And I have to clarify that it came through here, through the ears, not any other orifice. Okay? So you have to absorb the music. Spend a lot of time absorbing music. That is, if you ever want to achieve this ability to be able to hear what you want to play, to have this feeling inside. It's a lot of work. And for sure, when I was starting out, I would not be able to do this as fast as I could right now. It takes time, but do it. You got it. I promise you, it's painful in the beginning, but you just have to just push through. Eventually, it'll get easier and easier and easier. I promise this. Okay, good luck.